Hello, beautiful beings. I hope you're having a lovely Sunday. Now, on a Sunday, I often like to pop to the supermarket of my choice, where I often get given a free newspaper, and I take it because sometimes it's good to keep abreast of things in the 3D reality, and it helps light the fire for the log burner after I flick through it. And sometimes I do think, oh, I shouldn't have read those articles because they do trigger you. But I want to discuss two articles actually, that have really, really touched me. I mean, and I think they'll touch all of us. One of the articles today is, and I know that this is really controversial because in the UK right now, they are trying to bring in legislation. I think Esther Rantzen is campaigning for it because she's been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, I think I'm correct in saying that. And she thinks that we should have Dignitas clinics here like we have in Switzerland. And I think since those clinics have existed, over 500 people in the UK who are terminally ill and have gone with a loved one to these clinics have decided to end their life through medical intervention of an end-of-life drug being given to them. And they've consciously made that choice. But there's this tragic story that's come out in the media today, and it is truly the most tragic story. And I'll go into the work that I do, and what inspired me in the first few clients that I ever had was that I've, spent 23 years helping a myriad of people evolve their souls, heal their emotional trauma, some who are struggling with depression. Last year I saw 2 people I knew commit suicide, people I'd not been in touch with for many, many years in the physical realm. I may have spoken to them online, but I really wasn't in touch with those people. So I'm very aware of the fragility of mental health. So let me show you this article because it's pretty sad. Here's a guy, 47-year-old, good-looking man. Doesn't matter what he looks like. But he had no diagnosis of illness. He literally had his parents drop him off at the airport, told him he was going to see a friend in France. He didn't go to France. He went to a clinic called Pegasus in Switzerland. Now, the Dignitas clinic that we all probably have heard about, you do have to prove that you have a terminal illness. This other clinic called Pegasus, you do not have to prove that you have a terminal illness. You don't have to go with a friend or a loved one or a family member. Whereas Dignitas makes you have a family member or loved one with you. This young man of 47, the impression I get is he's not been married, he's got no children. He goes to the clinic. His parents are aware that he has struggled with his mental health. He tells his mum he loves him no matter what happens. And off he goes, not to France to visit a friend, but to this clinic called Pegasus in Switzerland, where they take £10,000 off him to inject him with a lethal injection that kills him. They don't inform any of his family. The family think the last they knew, they put him on a flight to visit a friend in France. And it takes them, I think, a couple of months to find out that he's been to a clinic in Switzerland and taken... Well, he hasn't taken his own life. He's paid a clinic £10,000 to bump him off. And they don't get a chance to give him a funeral or decide whether he's cremated and they get his ashes back 2 months later. The police had to get involved because they didn't know where he'd gone and he was lost. And this clinic, at no point did they inform his family that he'd been there or anything. It's that this clinic don't even haven't even answered the family yet. I mean, what a distressing thing to happen. And going into the work that I've done for 23 years, in the very beginning of helping people, it's such a broad spectrum in the work that I do. I had a lady who was very depressed and, she was like, oh, I feel suicidal. Could I come and see you? And she did. And that was 23 years ago. And that woman turned her life around. But thank God she could reach out to someone like me to help her, and we all need to reach out to someone. And sometimes our friends and family are not those people to help you. You need people on a spiritual level that can help you on a soul level. I think maybe my 4th or 5th client was a nurse illness who'd been on Prozac for years, and the work that we did, she chose, knowing knowledge of medication, she chose to take herself off the Prozac and turn herself around. And I remember getting a card from her at Christmas time saying, thank you, you've changed my life. And, you know, it brought me to tears. I think that was the first Christmas that I was doing the work I do. And so I'd help people to assist their mental health. So when you see people like this who don't have an illness, obviously they're struggling mentally, that they're mentally struggling, because no person of a sane mind, and you're supposed to be of a sane mind if you go to these clinics where you're supposedly terminal ill, you've got a loved one with you to validate and be there to help you. But to go on your own to one of these clinics, having no physical illness. I mean, if you see a picture of this man, he looks like in vibrant health. Looks to me from a spiritual level, and I may be wrong, he looks like he may be on the autistic or Asperger's spectrum to me personally. Here's his bereft mother of 81. What an awful experience to have. And I think it really brings into question whether we should validate these Dignitas clinics. What's even more scary that I read in the article was that to attend one of these clinics in Switzerland, you don't have to have a terminal illness, and you only have to be over 18 years of age. Now, also, I've had another friend whose daughter committed suicide at 21. So to think that somebody that young could go to one of these clinics and just pay money and die, and you could say, well, how many 18, 19-year-olds would have that kind of money? You'd be surprised, which leads me on to another article in this newspaper, which has triggered me, because I have a lovely, wonderful client, and she's a lovely girl, and I've worked with her for quite a few years now. And she came from quite an affluent family, and when she was 17, again, there's another article, let me find the page in here where it is, but all these young girls having bottom lifts and surgery at sort of young ages. When she was 17, her parents, well-meaning, you've maybe heard me say this story before, paid for her to have her bottom lifted and a chin implant in her chin and her lips done, to which she has regretted all of it to this day. And I've worked with her quite intensely over the last few years, and I've seen this young girl blossom into the most wonderful, conscious, aware lady, doing great work, you know, absolutely great work in the country that she lives in. Wonderful work she's doing, you know, working with children in a Steiner nursery. And, you know, again, poor mental health. What kind of surgeon, you know, gives surgery? Let me show this article again in this newspaper. The thing is, though, I shouldn't read these newspapers, but hey ho, here we go. But, you know, what kind of surgeon agrees to do a bottom lift or cosmetic surgery that, you know, yes, if you're grossly disfigured, I understand that. Because even when I was 16, I think, someone called me Dumbo at school, and my mum took me to see a surgeon about my ears. They don't stick out that much, but at the time it felt like a big deal as a teenager. But I didn't get surgery done because they told me they'd have to cut here, pull it back, and it was a whole room full of surgeons. And my mum was very shrewd, I have to say, very shrewd. She didn't say a word after we went to see the surgeon, but what they told me they'd have to do terrified me. I was like, no way, I'm going to live with these ears. And I've lived with these ears, you know, and I made a living for 13 years out of being a model with these ears. And there's nothing the matter with them. I mean, now I'm 53, cool, I've got loads of other things going on as well as this, you know, eczema at the moment, so this is teaching me compassion for young people who, you know, have got terrible acne or things on their face that they need to help with. And I'm working on this. I think it's an allergic reaction, and I think it might be to mold, and I'm doing ozone sauna therapy. Ozone sauna therapy is amazing, and I'm doing an elimination to try and work out what it is. And I don't think this weather helps, and lack of sunshine and stuff like that. And I may have got bitten. I've been bit a few times by spiders. That's a whole other story. But just showing you the compassion for physical disfigurement. But when you've got beautiful girls who really is nothing the matter with them, and look at this, these two girls, she's died after getting the Kardashian bottom lift in Turkey. See, they're all trotting off to Turkey. And she was booking a manicure. Now, I haven't read this article, but this poor girl's died after getting this bottom lift. Now, having worked with my beautiful client, who's now in her 20s, having had this bottom lift, and I've seen the photographs, it's not as horrific putting those implants into someone. And my client didn't have implants put into her bottom. She had her own fat removed from another part of her body and put into her bottom. But I've seen the scars from the surgery to remove it, and they've healed beautifully now. But oh my God, the day after she'd had that surgery, when I saw the scars from one side of your hip to the other, it's horrific. It's major surgery, and obviously it can go wrong, and this poor girl has died having a bottom lift to look like a Kardashian, you know. So, and the thing is, a beautiful girl, I mean, my bottom, I mean, the irony is I made a living as a model for 13 years, right? And I've got the flattest bottom that ever walked the earth. My bottom is as flat as can be. It's like the Somerset Levels. It's that flat. But do you know what I mean? It didn't stop me making a living as a model. It didn't stop me getting boyfriends. It didn't stop me working or living my life. You know, and then we have these TV shows bringing in this, like, you've got to have the bottom, like, you know, shelf in a cupboard. It's ridiculous. Now, on a subconscious level with my client, we worked out, where is this desire to have a big bottom come from? Now, this will be interesting in the work that I do around past lives. We tuned into the fact that she'd had a past life as an African lady. And of course, in some cultures in the world, you can marry in a higher status. I don't know if that still exists now, but in past lives, the bigger your bottom, the more desirable you were to get married. So she had a past life subconsciously running that her bottom was too small and it wouldn't help her get married. But she doesn't know that. She's 17 years of age. I might sneeze. You know, and her parents want to help her, but obviously they're not helping her in the right way, and they pay the money for the bottom surgery. Now, my client did suffer sitting down over the years. Sorry, I'm going to hiccup. It became painful for her to sit down, so she needed to reverse this surgery because it was affecting the nerves in her bottom and her leg, as well as she then increased her mental health as I've worked with her, and she's worked on herself intensely. And she started to realize that actually she doesn't need her bottom to look like that, that what God and nature gave her was the correct bottom. So, you know, I read these newspapers and I know this is the perils of the 3D reality. And I think there's another article in here today that I would have mentioned as well, but I think 2 is enough for now. So I just want to inspire people that please, you know, guide people in the right direction. There's all kinds of therapy out there to help you with your mental health and well-being. And it isn't all mainstream. And I know there's a lot of bad people in the industry that I work in, but there's also a lot of very good people. And, you know, please, your mental health is such a fragile thing. And, you know, you can be down one minute and up the next. And so when we see people struggling with their mental health, not getting the help that they need, and sometimes that help is spiritual help, spiritual guidance, to find that, you know, they can either run off without any help with a bottom and go and have surgery and then end up dying from the surgery as a young girl. You know, that's tragic. I don't know if it says, I haven't read it all. I read the other one a bit, but you know, it's tragic. And then a young man, you know, 47, no physical ailments or illnesses, trots off to some clinic and has a lethal injection and kills himself. And the family have no idea where he's gone. They have to get the police involved to find out where he's gone. And some clinic's taken £10,000 off him to bump him off. I just think this is a tragic state of humanity. And I know on a spiritual level, we've got to get to this point where we're so appalled by the things that are going on in the 3D that we go, no more, no more. This has to end. You know, we cannot carry on with this level of consciousness on the planet. And we also have to, I know we're in a time of, you know, mental health awareness, but I don't think people are getting necessarily the spiritual help that they need. And a lot of the work that I do with people, you know, I'm lifting really dark entities off people. And you can't just lift the entities off the people. It doesn't work like that. You have to go back to the emotional cohesion. So it takes the client back to the emotional issue that they had on the day the entities attached and the trauma that happened then. And we have to heal often the inner child. We have to heal the ancestral timeline. Sometimes we have to heal the past lives. We have to heal whatever has attached to them. And also, you know, really low astral realm demonic beings attached to people. And you can laugh and say, oh, that doesn't exist if you're really 3D. I'm telling you it does, because if you understand how people get into a space of poor mental health and the lower astral realm beings that may have attached to them and contributing to their poor mental health, and the voices in their head telling them to do these crazy things like, you know, oh, it's a really good idea to go and kill yourself and pay £10,000 to a clinic in Switzerland to kill you off. And that clinic has no consciousness, no morals, no scruples to consider this person needs some mental health help. They don't need to be bumped off. You know, we've got to get to this point in the planet where we understand all this. So, you know, from a holistic point of view, a lot of people are calling on beings that are not of love. They're not benevolent beings. You know, often I get clients going, oh, I didn't realize, I thought they were benevolent beings. And then I've not said a word to them. I've just said, will any beings who are not working for my soul's highest purpose step forward? Then we speak to them. And they realize these beings were not working for them. They're really low astral realm beings. And many people in the twinky twonky false light community are calling on these beings who are not benevolent. And I think all of this stuff is contributing to people's poor mental health and poor physical choices in their life that is causing them either mental distress, or in the case of the young man going to that clinic, ending their life, the girls having the bottom lift. You know, all this stuff is crazy, crazy stuff. And it has to be brought to light, and people have to whistleblow on this and say, this is wrong. This is really, really wrong. And I'm going to wave the flag for that, because in the work that I've done, helping people on a soul spiritual level for 23 years, I see this formulaically time and time and time again. Only last night, a gentleman emailed me who booked a session and then cancelled it, saying, I don't believe you can help me. I don't think anybody can help me. And I continued trying to call that man on that day because he didn't show up for his session. And I said, listen, don't sabotage this. I can help you. Lots of people can help you. Anyway, he sabotaged his session. He then subsequently went into a different level of consciousness and agreed he sabotaged it. And last night he reached out to say, you know, I'm going to be coming to Glastonbury. You know, maybe you could see me in person. I really, really need help, you know. So sticking with it, being there, you know, it sometimes your consciousness will change. So I just wanted to share that, because obviously, as you can see, I'm so passionate about helping people and people's mental health and well-being, and that we encourage humanity in the right direction to get the right help. Even if you think that helps, woo, woo, woo. It's, you know, if conventional help hasn't helped them, they need spiritual soul help, you know. And so with that, I'm going to read your comments and see if anybody has anything they'd like to share from what I've been ranting on about with great passion and gusto for like probably 10 or 15 minutes. No, I can see your comments, but thank you so much for that. It is raining cats, dogs and elephants again. And I'm just parked at the entrance of Wells. I don't know if you can see that through the window. There's a beautiful view over to the left. You can't see it in the rain. There's the largest No, it's actually the smallest cathedral in the UK, but Wells Cathedral is just stunningly beautiful. If you're coming to Glastonbury, please check that place out. It's lovely in there because they heat it, which is really, I know that sounds mad, but they spend a fortune heating that cathedral. And they have amazing library in there, and the acoustics of singing light language are just out of this world. And then over to the left, you can look and you see this amazing place called Fenny Castle. It's an old fort, but from over this way, even if I went outside, you wouldn't be able to see it. It's amazing. So I have been sort of sabotaging doing my receipts to get to my accountant, so I need to get back to that. My next sessions for London, I posted last night. I'm back in London, Richmond, seeing one-to-one clients for my 2-hour regression sessions in person are the 4th and 5th of February. So if you're interested in one of those sessions, have a look on my website. It is malfunctioning a little bit, but you won't know till after it flashes you up a thing saying error when you've bought something. But don't worry, I get the email. I know you've bought something. I will email you back. I do need, you know, a new website. We all procrastinate. We all have areas of our life where we're like, oh no, I'm going to have to face the shadow, the trauma of, you know, I've had really bad experiences with website developers in the past, and so it is a sort of bit of a like, oh, shadow aspect, but I've got to do it, bite the bullet, face it, whatever. We all have to do that. No matter how evolved we are, there's always things we don't like doing in life, and we keep putting them off, and eventually we have to face them and do them. And, you know, mental health and emotional well-being is my absolute passionate subject in helping humanity. And my other thing is healing naturally, you know, and I do believe that, you know, there's a lot of help out there, and there's a lot of good people who can help you. Please guide people in the right direction to get that help, especially when you hear that they might be mentally struggling, or they're thinking they've got body morphic disorder and they think their body is fat or ugly and it's perfectly beautiful. You know, we come in all shapes and sizes in this planet, and, you know, mental health is so, so important. So if you've enjoyed what I say, please share it. If you like my stuff and content, look at my YouTube channel, Andrea Foulkes Past Life Regression, and subscribe to my newsletter on my website. Much love for now. Many blessings from a very windy, rainy Wells. Much love for now. Bye.